The development of queer coding, the complex codes that queer artists and writers would use to get around censorship, is so fascinating. I was just reading something about queer coding in the Victorian era. Listen. Legislation criminalizing homosexual sex forced queer desire into the shadows, but within that negative space, queerness was able to find coded ways to flourish within the confines of that Lacanian erotic negativity. Victorian artists and sentiment towards gardening intersected in horticulture handbooks that discussed the various meaning of flowers, Mrs. Hale's The Book of Flowers, for example. Writers and other artists would use the language of flowers to hint at subtextual eroticisms. Antonius, the lover of the Roman Emperor Hadrian, became a reference in Victorian literature implying homosexuality. Language like confirmed bachelor, spinster, and frigid was often used to describe characters with an implied queer identity. This secret language was a means to navigate that negative space where queer desire could be embraced while still reinforcing the status quo, or at least not explicitly acting in opposition to it. There were so many other codes that developed in this time. Saint Sebastian is one really common, really prominent one. And there were a lot of Greek figures who also sort of had this connotation. And then, of course, that continued to develop throughout the 20th century, and with the development of film and then the Hays Code, we got all kinds of visual cues of queerness and homosexuality. And these do continue to resonate today, even though a lot of people are not aware of them. So as this commenter said, you can't expect to censor queer content and force queer artists to develop these complex codes and then use those codes and be surprised when people read them as queer. This came up in a discussion of reading characters as queer when they are not explicitly homosexual in the text. And that's the thing. The code is there and it developed for a reason. And you can't just ignore it now because it doesn't suit you.